Hello, this is Michael, atheist and alcoholic, attempting 90 AA meetings in 90 days. Nothing discussed in these videos will ever violate the anonymity of AA. So, I don't know if I'm going to read any more of the big book after chapter 4. And maybe that's not fair of me to read only the chapter that I am absolutely guaranteed to find the most contentious to me. But the, I've read it before years ago, and the deeper I delve into this drivel, the angrier I get. Um, and this is edition 4, so they are not categorically opposed to making changes to this book. I wish they changed this chapter in its entirety. So getting into it, in chapter 4 of the big book, To Atheists and Agnostics, the author writes, "The practical individual of today is a stickler for facts and results. Nevertheless, the 20th century readily accepts theories of all kinds, provided they are firmly grounded in fact. We have numerous theories, for example, about electricity. Everybody believes them without a murmur of doubt. Why this ready acceptance? Simply because it is impossible to explain what we see, feel, direct, and use without a reasonable assumption as a starting point. Everybody nowadays believes in scores of assumptions for which there is good evidence but no perfect visual proof. And does not science demonstrate that visual proof is the weakest proof? It is constantly revealed as mankind studies the material world that outward appearances are not inward reality at all. To illustrate, the prosaic steel girder is a mass of electrons whirling around each other at incredible speed. These tiny bodies are governed by precise laws, and these laws hold true throughout the material world. Science tells us so. We have no reason to doubt it. When, however, the perfectly logical assumption is suggested that underneath the material world, in life as we see it, there is an all-powerful, guiding, creative intelligence, right there our perverse streak comes to the surface, and we laboriously set out to convince ourselves it isn't so. We read wordy books and indulge in windy arguments, thinking we believe this universe needs no God to explain it." It was hard to read that without stopping and addressing things point by point, but I think it was important to just read those two paragraphs in their entirety. I think it's two paragraphs. That's the way I have it in my notepad. I don't know that science says that visual proof is the weakest proof. You want things to be measurable, and I don't know that. I don't know, and I don't know how he goes from visual proof as the weakest proof to, as we study the material world, outward appearances are not inward reality at all. I don't know how that one has to do with the other, or how that makes a convincing argument about why an atheist would accept a higher power. But okay. I also don't know what a prosaic steel girder is, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we could swap that out for gravity. I don't know how he makes the leap from gravity exists, we don't fully understand it, things exist, therefore God. That it's been a while since I've taken the one logic course I did, but if I recall correctly, you want an argument to be both sound and you want it to follow. You can have arguments where the premise, the original premise, is not sound, and it can be questioned or even objectively false, but the argument from that false premise at least follows. I don't understand how that follows at all. Like, things exist in science that we don't completely understand, but they're testable, they're repeatable, they have reliable results. So, like I said, we swap out for gravity. If you jump out the fucking window, you know what happens. Like, it's very clear. You can even drop something else out the window to test it. I don't completely, not even completely, I have zero idea of the why of gravity. I know that objects with mass exert gravity. The bigger the object, the more gravity it can exert. Proximity comes into play. The further you get away from the Earth, the less gravity it can exert on you. I have no idea about the why, but I know what happens if I jump out the fucking window. And I don't know. And I think later in the chapter, there's some assertion that we take gravity on faith, so therefore have faith that if you do this program, it will work. If you accept a higher power, it will work, provided you take those other simple steps. Gravity works the same for every person the same way every time. That is not true of this program. Statistically, we know that. There's been some argument about what the exact success rate is, and even how you define success. If somebody stays sober for 5 years, relapses, gets back on a path, is that success? I would think so, but there can be conflicting definitions on what exactly success means in a recovery program. But the results aren't great no matter which way you look at it. Some people have been said it's as low as 3 to 5%, which is the exact rate you get from people who try to quit without doing any recovery, any therapy, any pharmacology. They just decide, I'm going to stop drinking. 3 to 5% make it, and they never drink again. Other studies have shown that Alcoholics Anonymous has a success rate of up to about 14%. Still shy. Baby girl. So, I don't know. There were better arguments that could be made for sure. If the author had just wrote, look, man, I know that as an atheist, it's hard to accept any idea of a higher power. But if you just imagine, if you carve out a little space in your brain where you can just pretend for a little while, it'll help. It's helped a lot of people. And what do you have to lose? Like some version of Pascal's wager. That, to me, would have been better. And something I could have gotten behind than this bullshit. That doesn't make any sense. And we'll get more into the chapter as I go in the next videos. So today was meeting 18, and it was a good meeting. The topic was on sponsors, and I'll keep this brief because I've went on long enough. One of the things that did stick out, though, is that having a sponsor, why I think there's a lot of good that can come from that, helping people work the steps, having somebody to lean into, somebody to call if you're in danger of relapsing. I think there's a lot of good that can come from it, but there's also a lot of drama that can be created, which became evident from some of the shares today. And I can see why Smart Recovery and other programs haven't implemented that sort of relationship. My share was, I said I have no real, nothing much to say about having a sponsor, but I think one of the concerns people had where they felt guilty about having to walk away from a sponsor that wasn't helping them, that wasn't communicating as much as they needed. And my share was simply that the best thing that we can do for the people we care about most and society at large, really, is to be as selfish in our recovery as we were in the throes of our addiction. So that's all I have. Thank you, and I'll see you guys here again tomorrow.